All right, guys. I think we'll go ahead and get rolling here. So appreciate y'all jumping in. If we got any late arrivers, we'll get them caught up. But thank you guys for joining on time. Very, very excited for the opportunity here tonight to speak with Coach Joe Clancy from Eastern University. Going to get a little bit of some info about his program, and he's going to just provide some great knowledge for you guys here tonight on the recruiting process. Coach, how you doing? Good to see you.
Doing well, Andy. How are you?
Awesome. I'm doing great, man. So my name is Andy Drake. For those of you who haven't been in any of the workshops with me before, I'm the senior group recruiting coach for baseball here. Do a lot of the content, set up a lot of the things like tonight. So looking forward to having you all in. I am going to record tonight's interview as well. So if you happen to jump in later or want to go back over anything we cover, we'll send that out afterwards. And follow us on social media if y'all haven't done that. NCSA Baseball there on Twitter and Instagram. Follow us there as well. So with all that being said, man, we're going to dive into it. Let's go and get rolling. Now, real quick, before we dive into the interview, guys, I did just want to point out some of our upcoming workshops. Now, I mostly want to highlight in June, I'm going to be running some position specific workshops. I know the summer's a little bit busier, but there's a little more time to go over some of those kind of things. And so we're going to spend some time talking about summer recruiting for you guys. So if you're multiple position guys, feel free to jump in more than one of those, but at least get in your primary position. You see those coming up in June. We got some others as well. Screenshot that page. Check out the NCSA University. A lot of good stuff coming up there. So make sure you guys check those out and jump in those position workshops as well. Okay. All right, so let me just take 30 seconds, and then it's going to be done with me. So let me just tell you guys a little bit of my background real quick. Again, Andy Drake, senior group recruiting coach, hosting tonight's interview here. Did play, grew up in Ohio, played my high school ball and stuff down there. Ended up playing Division III ball up in Michigan at Calvin University. Starting outfielder there, had a great experience playing some college ball up there. Was a high school coach for about a decade, teacher, AD, and then I coached at two different college programs. Moved out to Philly, not far from Coach Clancy, actually. I was the head coach at Cairn University for a year back in 2011. Came back to Michigan, was the head coach, recruiting coordinator, top assistant recruiting coordinator there at Kalamazoo College. Been here at NCSA for over 10 years, so excited to be hosting tonight's interview. But let's get to the main part of it here. So Coach Clancy, again, thanks for joining. If you don't mind, just give the guys a little bit of some background here about your current position and kind of how you ended up there at Eastern University as the RC.
Yeah, Andy, and thanks again. And guys, super excited to be with all of you. So I grew up in New Jersey, not too far away from where I currently am. Went to high school in Jersey as well. Did attend like a boarding private school, so got to have a little bit of fun in that experience. And then originally went to a Division II school in the area. Ended up going through the transfer process, finding Eastern that way. I played at Eastern all 4 years of my eligibility. Pretty much right after college, I got right into coaching as well. Started out as a volunteer assistant, went right into being a graduate assistant, which had a 2-year term. Then quickly right after that, got my first head coaching job at the University of Valley Forge. Spent 3 years there. And this was actually my first year back at Eastern as a full-time assistant, and I'm kind of overseeing recruiting on my end. So that's kind of my main role, as well as helping out varsity. We have a JV program as well. I'll oversee that too. So kind of wear some different hats as well. But overall, try to stay involved in as much as I can.
Awesome. No, great stuff. So I know the guys are going to get a lot of great info and knowledge from you here tonight. Now, tell us a bit about, some of the other factors that got you into coaching. Obviously, you graduated with a college degree and probably could have gone a lot of different directions. What kind of kept you in the coaching game? Why have you felt that that's kind of a path that you've been excited to go down?
Yeah, so I was definitely one of those kids going to college. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. So I studied business, and thankfully that allowed me some flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
But kind of throughout my college career, I had done different internships that kind of helped guide me to what jobs I might want to do. Thankfully, one of them was actually with the Phillies. So that was
Oh,
a
nice.
fun year internship that I had. Taught me a lot, a whole heck
Mm-hmm.
of a lot, and kind of guided me towards wanting to be at the college level. I kind of wanted to at that time kind of shy away from a lot of the business aspects.
Mm-hmm.
And I really just wanted to be on field.
Mm-hmm.
So being a younger guy, I didn't have the greatest resume in the world. So I had to start somewhere, and kind of tying back to when I was on the field. I spent most of my college career as a reliever.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of got to sit back, see a lot of the X's and O's play out. Some good, some bad, as we all experience. But really, that just kind of got me, kind of focused on trying to make an impact coaching
Mm-hmm.
wise. I again was young and very, very green to the world and thought a lot of things could be fixed by X's and O's. But it's a whole heck of a lot more than
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what initially got me into it. And then, like I said, as I got more into coaching, again, learned more about the different sides of it. Definitely fell in love with the recruiting side. I love to travel around. I love to
Mm-hmm.
see baseball played in all different regions, all different styles too. So that's kind of what led me kind of on this track.
Well, coach has got his background on his screen there, so y'all can't see it, but he's out grinding, man. He's at a game tonight, man. He's talking to me like on the road. So you guys, again, are talking to somebody here who's right in the midst of doing the stuff that you guys are obviously doing as well this summer. He's out seeing some guys here tonight. Now, tell us a little bit more about Eastern. So obviously you played there, great background, obviously from that experience. Now coming back as a former alum to be coaching there. Give the guys here, if they aren't as familiar maybe with Eastern, a little bit of the background about the program, about the college. What might be some things that might attract some guys to maybe being maybe a little bit more interested and perhaps know more about Eastern?
Yeah, so on a school scale, Eastern University is right outside of Philadelphia. With or without traffic, we're probably about 30 minutes outside of Center City,
Mm-hmm.
Philadelphia. We are a smaller school, so we are an NCAA Division III school. In terms of traditional undergraduates on campus, we have about 1,300 currently, and thankfully we are growing. The university is
Mm-hmm.
kind of in a expansion mode, so it's been very, very cool to see a lot of things change on campus, and certainly for the better. But being a smaller school, we have about a 10-to-1 ratio for all of our classes. So I would say, in terms of academics, that's going to be what attracts a lot of students.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe students that aren't as comfortable in a larger setting. It's just in a university where you get to know your professors very, very well. No matter what courses that you're taking, whether it's in your major, whether it's an elective, they're all going to be very, very helpful. It's also nice that nowadays 52% of our student body are student athletes as well.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a university that does truly care about athletics. And as I've said, everything's expanded. So it's definitely a place where you can enjoy a very, very good academic side of things, get a very, very high quality degree, and then be able to enjoy 4 years of your athletic eligibility. So I would say on a big scale, that's definitely Eastern University in a nutshell.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the campus itself, very, very beautiful. Definitely in a wooded setting. I would say I don't know how this happens every year. And Coach, I don't know if you have seen these ratings either. Definitely being a Karen and some other Christian schools.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently we're ranked in the top five for most beautiful Christian schools in the world. I'll be honest, I
Very
don't know
good.
what fully goes into that, but definitely happy to be on that list.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
definitely a place where, again, you get to kind of enjoy, again, not just academics, baseball,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely a place where you get to enjoy the atmosphere too.
Awesome. And one thing that I think that you guys probably have, you even though you're not far outside of Philly, it's a small school, but you still have like some of the bigger kind of school experience stuff around you, right? Like, even though some people might see like an enrollment size and think, oh, small school, don't want that. But sometimes when you're in the right place, you still can kind of have that big school experience, right?
Yeah, definitely. And like
Mm-hmm.
I said, being outside of a major city,
Mm-hmm.
it definitely makes it accessible.
Yeah.
Probably within a quick drive, one town over, we have King of Prussia,
Mm-hmm.
that now houses the largest retail mall in America.
Mm-hmm.
And right down the road, I say our big brother university, is Villanova.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's definitely a nice area to be a college student in,
Yeah.
which should factor into things. It
Yeah.
doesn't always, but I think, again, if you're looking to stay at a place for 4 years, a lot of these things probably come into the light.
And you guys on the field this year, had a pretty solid season kind of looking back over the last few years, got to the 20-win mark, which is great to see. What do you kind of attribute some of that success to? I mean, have you guys, been doing anything different or just kind of feeling like, hey, we've got some momentum? What do you kind of attribute some of the very recent success from this year being?
Yeah, I would say it's a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what we've been trying to build has definitely been a process of several years now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Even when I was gone as well, Coach Renaro has done a really,
Mm-hmm.
really good job heading everything in the right direction. And I think now, again, with a lot more resources around, we really truly can offer a Division I atmosphere with
Mm-hmm.
Division III realities. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I really like to tell everybody. College baseball is getting much, much better and very quickly too. We're catching up very quickly to kind of the standards that a lot of Division I
Mm-hmm.
programs are kind of operating with. Even one of those where I tell guys, whatever resources we can have, whether it's any training aids. This year, our guys absolutely love title tanks. I'm not, trying to run a promo for them right now, but it's just one of those things that if any training aids pop up and they help our guys, we're able to provide that.
Mm-hmm.
On top of having a program with actually 7 coaches on staff.
Mm-hmm.
You don't tend to see that a lot at the Division III level. So there's just a lot of resources and care that goes into our program. And I think we're finally just starting to see all those things come to fruition, and just being able to offer not even just a varsity program, but even a
Mm-hmm.
JV program that's growing and getting more competitive. And it's just a very, very fun experience now. Not to say that it wasn't when I was playing.
Yeah, yeah,
Definitely is a lot more fun, I think, to
yeah.
to see everything these days for sure.
Great to hear and great to be a part of it too, as a guy who's been there for a lot of years. Now, talk a little bit more about like the JV program, right? So some guys kind of hear maybe that a little bit and maybe wonder. I think I saw that I was counting on your guys' roster this morning when I was looking at some things, maybe upper 40s, maybe 50 or so. But so how does the JV thing work? How do you guys determine, kind of some of that? How does that sort of play into sort of the recruiting as well?
Yeah, so basically, our varsity team gets to play the NCAA mandated
Mm-hmm.
40 games per year.
Mm-hmm.
The JV program is definitely an extension of our varsity program.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a lot of guys, especially guys that stepped up this year and had very, very good years for us come out of that JV program.
Nice.
So the way we run things, it's very much connected and almost a true ladder right through our program. So it's not just kind of a team that's not close to us and just plays other games. Really, for us, it is a full quote unquote minor league system
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
for our program. So that's how we kind of run it. But I will say it's very, very cool to be able to run a program like that at the college level, because the 40 games that the varsity team gets, they have to be counted with 4-year Division III schools. But what's nice about the JV side of things is it offers our guys the opportunity to even play some games against teams in different divisions.
Mm-hmm.
We played a lot of local D2 teams. Thankfully, we were very competitive with them. We played other Division III schools. So it just offers that extension of the program to where we can kind of see where our guys are that certainly are there for development. But then in some cases too allow us to kind of measure up against other programs and again at different levels too.
Awesome, awesome. I love the analogy of kind of like the minor league, right? Like, so I think that that sort of talks about the connection of it. If maybe a guy needs a little bit of an injury, kind of like rehab sort of stint, you can get him down there for a game or two, or if somebody is just needing to kind of tune up, or maybe hasn't gotten some innings in a week or two, we'll get you an inning or two in a JV game, kind of thing. Gives you that opportunity to where it's not just two separate teams doing completely different things. So and not all JV
Absolutely.
programs are like that, right? So it's important for you guys to know when you hear about that JV developmental type of stuff, ask questions. So that coaches like Coach Clancy here can explain how they run it, because not everybody, will do that exactly the same. All right. So let's talk about the recruiting. Obviously, you're out on the road right now. You're checking some guys out. You're going to be out there all summer long, heading out and seeing some guys here. Tell the guys in here a little bit about like how you approach recruiting. What kind of qualities are you looking for? What's kind of like your checklist look like? And not, you don't necessarily have to like break down every position like in the minute details, but in a broad sense, like what are you looking for? What speaks to you as like, hey, that guy might be an Eastern baseball player?
Yeah, and I'll kind of start with just when we get like general emails or when we
Hmm.
first like come across someone maybe on a roster. The two big things are major potentially and GPA.
Hmm.
We need to know if they're potentially even a fit for our university, let alone our
Hmm.
baseball program. That's probably something that's very, very common across Division III as a whole. Because there's a lot of different certainly options in terms of universities, but definitely we want to make sure you're an academic fit first. We'll probably talk about it more, but that's definitely going to be the
Hmm.
big piece to everything. Because certainly as a Division III school, we don't offer athletic money. So you really have to truly love the academic side at that individual school. Um, and then really after that, it's just making sure again, GPA is high enough, making sure that you'll get a good financial aid package. Not to say that we don't, recruit guys that have, even around like a 3.0. But if we can get higher, we would love that. Plus, that also tells us that when you get to college as well, we don't have to worry about you as much in the
Hmm.
classroom. What that allows us to do is just focus on baseball. So it's not coming to the field talking about, hey, how were your classes today? It just gets to be, hey, all right, let's stretch, warm up, and then get into everything we
Hmm.
need to do. So that's just first and foremost. So academics is going to come first. But as we say, we recruit everybody for academics first and getting an Eastern degree. And then right behind that, we're talking about baseball.
Hmm.
So purely on the baseball side, definitely athleticism is going to be the biggest thing that we really look for. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean by metrics. It's great if guys have a sub 760. But how does that translate to the field? A lot of times, guys may think outfielders, as an example, need the fastest 60s, but is their actual get up and go speed to get a ball in the gap going to show? Is that going to translate? A lot of those types of things are what we like to see over the summer and just actually watching you guys play. So that's going to be a huge, huge thing for us, just to make sure we're trying to find the right guys in terms of talent. But again, pairing that with if we are a good fit. So initially, I would say that's kind of what we look for.
Hmm.
And then position by position, it'll be a little bit more specific, but certainly can walk anybody through that.
Yeah, and guys, I should have mentioned at the beginning, and just for everybody in here, the chat box is open, okay? And so if there are any like questions or things you might want to hear a little bit about, feel free to fire away in there. I might not get to everything like in real time, but we will try to get to everything here before we're wrapped up. So if anything comes to mind right now, fire away in there. Now, as a staff, how do you guys sort of handle the recruiting? Obviously, you're out on the road here right now. How do you guys communicate as a staff? How do you guys identify prospects? You mentioned kind of through emails and things, but what are some of the other avenues that you guys as a staff use to identify prospects and communicate as a staff to kind of start to put together that list of potential recruits?
Yeah, so in a lot of different ways. Right now we're collecting schedules for travel
Mm-hmm.
teams.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, where I'm at, I'm looking at a high school game tonight. So trying to just find where guys are in their playing season.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be the biggest thing. Right now, we're looking at the juniors as well. So pretty much we're pretty much wrapped up with our 2024 class. So
Mm-hmm.
now we're just starting the identification process for all 2025s.
Mm-hmm.
For us, we have our goals set out. Like this year, we're going to be looking for about 10 guys,
Okay.
especially for the varsity side. Still kind of determining where we are going to be for the JV side, but we're certainly going to be focusing on the varsity side first.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to just make sure we get the guys we need in the right spots. And then really we're starting national searches as well. So day to day, what we do in our office, we'll go through our emails. We use a system called Front Rush, which is really important because that's actually affiliated with you guys with
Mm-hmm.
NCSA. So what we are able to do is go through all the guys that are affiliated with NCSA in some way, shape, or form. Be able to see who's in California, who's in Texas, across the country, and just be able to see what their videos look like, maybe what measurables they have posted on their profiles, and basically just going through a full identification process. Until we find guys we like, that's when really we'll get on the phone with them, see what their play schedule looks like, see if they're a fit for the university overall. Kind of just talking a little bit more in depth, but that's kind of the process initially early in the summer that we
Mm-hmm.
kind of are in right now.
Awesome. Now I counted up on your roster. I like a back of the napkin count here, so my numbers might not be perfect, but I think I counted like 38 of your guys are from PA, Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. But you got about a dozen guys that are kind of scattered all over the country. So a little bit of a regional focus, but you're able to bring some guys in from further out. Like, how does that happen? You know, the guys that are maybe not like right in the backyard. How do you end up kind of connecting with them? You mentioned the profiles, but how else do those conversations kind of pick up?
Yeah, so it really does come from, like I said, our kind of broad nets that we
Mm-hmm.
cast out. And then really, like I said, just kind of seeing who really fits Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
And again, sometimes it is as simple as receiving an email.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it is as simple as seeing someone's profile. Or we just come across different events when
Mm-hmm.
we're out for the summer, some larger scale individual showcases. That's where a lot of times we'll see a lot of guys come in from across the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to tell guys as much as possible that are even sometimes further away from us. In general, if you looked at a map of the United States, the majority of your universities are going to be east of the Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
So for all intents and purposes, a lot of guys tend to come out this way too.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of depends where we are located. But we'll also take recruiting trips as well.
Mm-hmm.
We're usually in Florida a lot. We're probably expanding to Texas and California this year.
Okay.
So it just kind of depends, really also what time of the year that it is too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how those connections are kind of made. Outside of also being on like Twitter or X, whatever
Mm-hmm.
everybody's calling it these days. Really all the social medias where we can find guys.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to turn over almost every rock to make Eastern a championship program. So, however we can find someone, wherever someone has video, I'm probably going to be looking.
So let me ask you this, and maybe we can just like that kind of brings in a really good question. So, our guys are a lot of them pretty active on social media. We run a lot of classes and workshops about how to best present yourself. We got a college coach in the room here now. How do how does a Twitter like post catch your attention? Is it specific guys that you go look up? Do you just kind of like scour your timeline occasionally and see that, see if there's things that pop up? How does social media kind of come into your world when it comes to like maybe identifying some recruits?
Yeah, so if you looked at my kind of timeline or feed, I promise you it's going to be baseball video after baseball video. But overall, I can do a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes there's even at points in the year where I may tweet out something and just kind of see
Mm-hmm.
what comments we get back.
Mm-hmm.
I may tweet at NCSA sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously get
Mm-hmm.
in contact with you guys, any of the uncommitted pages as well.
Yeah.
Really just trying to follow up and see who still is uncommitted.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes guys don't update their profiles. They may not
Mm-hmm.
announce their commitment for a little bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So just trying to see always who's uncommitted. But overall, it's just a really good tool, even for our end of things. Because if it's possible for us to see any game video, that's what we
Mm-hmm.
love to see the most.
Mm-hmm.
Any recruiting videos are not bad either.
Mm-hmm.
Really, it's one of those things, whatever you have, post it.
Mm-hmm.
But for us, especially, trying to just see, where guys are, what they look like kind of live, even if we
Mm-hmm.
can't get there.
Yeah.
That's another big way, again, because guys across the country, we're not always going to be able to be there in
Mm-hmm.
person. So any way we can see you play, any way we can see your skill set, that's where it's just going to come into play for sure.
Awesome, awesome. A lot of different avenues, guys. So just make sure you're using all of the tools you have. Now, as far as like other like evaluation opportunities, you're obviously out. You guys probably get to a lot of showcase stuff. Do you guys host camps? Like, what's important like for guys to do? What's maybe some of the best ways if guys connect with you that they can say, "Hey, coach, I want to get in front of you." Where's the best way for that to happen? A little bit of a mix of showcases, camps. How does that kind of look for you guys?
Yeah, a little bit of a mix. Showcases, camps, really anything, certainly in our region,
Mm-hmm.
we tend to attend. We do run our own camps as well. We're finishing the final touches on that.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually starting construction on a new turf field at our facility. So
That's great.
uh, we're probably going to be off campus this year alone. Hopefully that changes and we're back as soon as we possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, we're tentatively looking at August for our camp as
Mm-hmm.
well. So as soon as we put the final T's and dot our I's, we'll be announcing that. We typically send that out through email, post it on social media as well.
Mhm.
So that's another thing for guys too. If you're interested in any program specifically, check out their Twitter page.
Mhm.
Check out their website just to
Mhm.
see what they're running and when. And if you can make it and you really like that school, definitely go, because that's a really, really good way still to get in front of coaches.
Mhm.
I know obviously the popular ways nowadays are to get to showcases and things like that. But really at our camps, um, this past year, we went through our roster, and it's right about 50%, 52%
Mhm.
actually attended a camp for us.
Mhm.
So that's a big deal for us, and I'm sure it's only going to grow from here.
Mhm.
So just making sure that guys understand too that again, if you're genuinely interested in a school and not just trying to feel it out, camps at that school are still one of the best ways to get there.
Cool, cool, cool. Great stuff. Now, at Eastern, as any school has, there's always some challenges, right? Like in recruiting, for, whether it's, it could be different across the board. What are some of the challenges you guys face, or some of the hurdles or obstacles that you run into, either maybe like talking to potential recruits, or, some of the, just what are some of the challenges that you guys kind of come up against in recruiting?
Yeah, I would say the biggest one is some of mentalities.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say that, the D1 or bus mentality is a big, big challenge for us. And I get it. Everyone wants to go Division One. There are only so many Division One spots out there. And I try to tell guys and advise throughout this process, make sure you're just playing. Make sure you're playing in some capacity. Make sure you're on a college roster in some capacity, because it's a very, very hard thing to do. I know we learned, especially post COVID, that roster spots were very, very valued. And especially nowadays, it's hard to play college baseball. As I said, even Division III, we're kind of looked at as the lowest on the totem pole, even sometimes compared to like NAIA ball too. But it's getting a lot better. And if guys really don't know either how to navigate the process or they just kind of overlook schools,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to get passed by. And
Mm-hmm.
that's definitely a big challenge. And it's not just even with high school guys. Some of those conversations even go to guys that are coming out of junior college, guys that are coming out of the transfer portal. Not that we're a huge transfer portal program,
Mm-hmm.
but when we do talk to guys, we want to see, hey, are we a realistic option? And do you actually want to play, or are you just trying to stay at a certain level?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of areas where I just think that mentality is just a huge battle for us. And I would say that's across the board, probably for all of our schools that are
Mm-hmm.
smaller as well. And that's why I say, and what I say in the beginning is fit plays a huge, huge role.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to be comfortable in the academic setting, if you're going to be comfortable um, at our university as a whole, that's going to help you stay somewhere for 4 years.
Yeah.
And I know it was different, even when I was going through it. We didn't have the transfer portal like it
Mm-hmm.
is built up to be today. But really, I mean, this is kind of personally to me too. Some other coaches and players might feel differently on this, but I don't think the transfer process is one you want to go through. You really want to be happy where you are. And if, I know it's an old phrase. It was always told to me. Thankfully, I didn't experience this, but if you got injured and couldn't play baseball again, would you be happy at that school? And I think that really, really says a lot. And it's definitely something that probably high schoolers in one ear out the other, because there's all these fancy things that we all want to see, but
Mm-hmm.
definitely is something that I think is worth a thought at some point.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that's some great words on that. I mean, the transfer portal is there for every situation is individual and unique, but I think sometimes a lot of guys have the mindset of, well, I'll go somewhere and I'll just try to go somewhere else. And like you said, that 1 foot in, 1 foot out mentality, maybe not always the best, especially at some of the schools that have guys that are a little more bought in, and sometimes that can get you in a little bit of some trouble. All right, we've got a couple of questions that have popped in here, Coach. I want to just kind of hit some of these because there's some pretty good ones that came in here. So one question came in. All right, well, how about catchers? Like, what do you guys look for specifically in catchers? What's just a few things if you're evaluating catchers? Give some of the guys in the room here a little bit of an idea of like what you might be kind of looking at or kind of homing in on.
Yeah. Again, I come back to athleticism. But in
Mm-hmm.
terms of catchers, what I mean by that, are you able to move efficiently and quickly when you're blocking a baseball. In terms of, how you actually do that mechanically, are you gaining ground and keeping the
Mm-hmm.
baseball in front, or are you just kind of, replacing the feet with the knees and dropping down? In terms of arm strength, are you efficiently using your body to transition the baseball from glove to hand and then out to whichever bag you're throwing to? Obviously arm strength will play a role into it as well. But it's one of those things that, like every other position, we expect you to
Mm-hmm.
develop. So we're not set on, obviously the lowest pop time possible,
Mm-hmm.
but it has to be able to not even just look good in a showcase setting. We really need to know what that pop is in game two.
Mm-hmm.
So, kind of all those factors play a whole heck of a lot into it, as well as other things. How well are you able to steal strikes? We're not expecting everybody to be JT Realmuto, but are you able to, stick every single pitch? Are you going to be able to handle sticking pitches with, like our staff, that pretty much ranges from 78 to 92? That's sometimes hard for catchers, because
Mm-hmm.
there's such a big variance. So you really do have to be comfortable in that spot, as well as, again, be able to compete at the college level where there are going to be, 6'6", 6'8" runners,
Mm-hmm.
which, translates into, you got to get it there certainly probably in 2 seconds or less. So those are the types of things that we'll look for, especially at the catching spot.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Great stuff. Now, someone had a great question about, so obviously at Eastern, you guys do have the aspect of the being a Christian university. And so there is a little bit of that faith aspect that may come in. How does that kind of play in at Eastern? Like what would the students that go there, what would they have to maybe expect from that side? How important is that aspect of maybe their life coming to school there? Again, maybe not everybody in here, is that, and that's okay. But like, how does that play in as far as like the potential students choosing Eastern?
Yeah, so I would say for Eastern, I mean, you really don't even have to be
Mm-hmm.
of the Christian faith.
Mm-hmm.
We accept everybody of all backgrounds. Really, the way I think it's been described, even to me lately, is just that it's a place where you can belong and
Mm-hmm.
explore your
Mm-hmm.
faith on your own. So it's definitely great if you are very, very used to being in the faith.
Mm-hmm.
As coaches and staff, we are not shy about our faith either.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think it's a good environment where, again, you don't have to be, used to everything. You can certainly grow in it. In terms of what you might come across academically, probably very similar to what you might take at a lot of Catholic schools as well.
Mm-hmm.
Usually it's just a couple Bible classes,
Mm-hmm.
usually like Old Testament, New Testament, and then a theology course. And for most of our degrees, that's going to be pretty much the core curriculum.
Okay.
Um, the other class that we do offer is INST. Usually, a lot of schools, say this is our core class or something like that. But that's going to be driven around just kind of going through faith, reason, and justice,
Mm-hmm.
which are the main three areas that the university focuses on. And then really just making sure that every student does do some sort of community service. So
Mm-hmm.
that'll be a part of
Mm-hmm.
that class as well. But pretty much those four core classes are what all of our students kind of go through, which isn't a ton,
Mm-hmm.
thankfully. So usually once you're done with those core classes, or your gen eds, as most schools will call them, you'll get right into all of your major work and then your electives.
Awesome. Good stuff. And obviously, if anybody has any more specific questions about that, I would maybe reach out to Coach Clancy later on. He can maybe give you a little bit more about some of that for sure. Now, on Twitter, obviously, you guys are looking at some videos there, but you're looking at videos all over the place, right? Whether it's an NCSA profile, something that's sent to them, sent to you from like YouTube, like videos. Just kind of, what are some of the different avenues that you guys are like receiving videos from?
Yeah, pretty much anything and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
would say the most common, if it's not posted on someone's profile, would be like a YouTube link.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's still a great resource.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I would caution guys with, and I just have seen this recently, try to make sure your videos have their own link. I know now YouTube kind of has, I guess the video platform where now you can start to scroll through and whatnot. Try to make sure that your video just stands out and is kind of its own thing. Don't try and post it, even like on Instagram or something like that. Just be careful just where you have it. If it's on your profile, great. But if it's going to be in someone's feed, it can be lost very easily.
Hmm.
I know I get frustrated sometimes when they get like cut short or replay, and I'm like, oh no, I wanted to see that swing. So any way we can just be able to pause it, kind of break things
Hmm.
down, even slow it
Hmm.
down sometimes, check mechanics. That's going to be a huge thing.
Cool.
Thankfully, a lot of guys that post videos to their profiles pretty much have it set that way.
Hmm.
But I know again, it's just something recently I've seen too. Try not to make sure it's on any feed. It's just on its own page.
I will say on the NCSA profile, just and maybe you guys haven't run into this, but if you have a video posted as a YouTube short, which is more like the real kind of size, those aren't even allowed. Our system doesn't even let you post those up. So yeah, even to just post it on your profile, it's got to be sort of a full, YouTube video. So just kind of be aware of that as well. And again, that will kind of play into maybe the ease of the coaches being able to watch some of it too. Cool. One more question, kind of a two-parter, and then I want to kind of maybe start to close some things out here, Coach, with some final thoughts that you may have for the guys. But so someone also asked maybe about pitchers a little bit, but I think around that too. Not only what are you looking at for pitchers, but how do you kind of evaluate here's where a guy's at now versus the potential this guy may have, right? Like, or maybe, man, this guy might have a lot more in the tank, or I can tell maybe he hasn't peaked yet. How do you sort of like play those together and like building your roster and so forth? How do you sort of weigh like what this guy can do for us right now versus what we could see him doing maybe 2 or 3 years down the road?
Yeah, I will say that is a very loaded question. And it's a hard one, right? Because everybody's in a
Yeah.
different boat.
Yep.
And everybody's at a different velo. Everybody's at a different arm slot. So
Mm-hmm.
pitching in particular, it's going to be, probably how we can simplify all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
How do we boil it down to how do you compete? Do you have two or three pitches for a strike? Are you able to show some capacity of being able to grow
Mm-hmm.
either in velo or something like that. There's a lot of rules of thumb that we still kind of stick to on the coaching
Mm-hmm.
side. One of the big ones is what is a college lifting program going to help you do?
Mm-hmm.
For
Mm-hmm.
pitching, usually it's at least 1 or 2 miles an hour a year if you're on a upward trend. Obviously, in that realm, you can plateau. But what does that look like? Guys that are developed and have more muscle, they probably have more of an ability to plateau a lot sooner, even in our program. So it really just kind of depends where everybody is. There's not necessarily a set velo,
Mm-hmm.
that we even look for. But the caveat is again, college baseball is getting a lot better. That means the velos are skyrocketing. Especially in conference play. You don't want to just kind of go to a program and look to always just be like a midweek guy, as we might say. You definitely want to make sure, to work towards being a conference guy.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because a lot of programs are in different boats. But even as we see from some teams kind of, getting gypped out of making the postseason tournaments from, being in the top 25 or
Mm-hmm.
even sometimes conferences might not have an automatic qualifier. So there's a lot of ways that teams can miss out on postseason play. But really a lot of teams are going to fight to get to that point through conference play. So um, just shooting to be one of those guys is always going to be a huge thing at the college level. And different programs will go about that in different ways. But at least in terms of pitching, there's just going to be a lot of that type of work. So it's just going to factor into everything. Again, whether it's mechanics, can we fix something relatively quickly or
Mm-hmm.
within a quicker amount of time? Because I know it sounds like a lot when we talk about 4 years of development. But I promise you, as a player and coach, I'm sure you felt this too.
Yep.
Like it goes by really
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just one of those things. Everything's an individual basis, but at the same time, that's where we start to have conversations with guys.
Yep.
A lot of our development, is through conversations. We want to know what our guys are feeling, what our recruits are feeling. Are they able to mentally even mature sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
especially on the pitching side. How are you going to make sure that you're not leaving a changeup over the middle of the plate? Because if you do, I promise it's going over the fence, even at the Division 3 level.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of those things just come into play. A lot of the aspects of our game. We still play baseball. So how are we just going to make sure we teach you guys, help you understand a lot of those things? And that does even go back to the pitching side. So again,
Yeah.
if I could boil that down to, we're looking for competitors on the mound, not just throwers.
Hmm.
Yes, velo allows you to get away with more, but at the same time, there are going to be those guys that are very good hitters. And I think we're seeing a lot of those recent cases. From Division III, guys are bumping up to those big programs, and they're
Hmm.
showing really, really well. Watson from Virginia Tech, he played Division III baseball last year, and he's the best hitter in the ACC, if not one of the top three. So
Hmm.
there's a lot of those cases out there. So it's really finding out how do we compete. Usually at least two pitches for strikes, if not three. So there's a lot of those things out there.
Awesome. Now, as far as like the dual guy, real quick, I'm always curious with this because I know that there's maybe a little more, at least potential for like dual opportunity with some of the D3 schools versus if you're looking at the higher levels. Like, how do you guys value like the dual guys? Is it kind of rare for you? Just kind of curious, like for your guys' program, what do you kind of value potentially in some of the dual guys?
Yeah, so in terms of numbers, it is still kind of rare,
Yeah.
but guys do it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that's kind of a double negative there.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, we even had one of our conference starters this year, our Friday guy. He was a two-way.
Mm-hmm.
He was a pitcher and a first baseman DH. So it is possible for guys to do it. What we say is you just have to do both well.
Mm-hmm.
And we tell guys up front that through the recruiting process. And when we say do well, I mean, it's not just, looking to be in the lineup. You have to produce on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of development, that's where we'll also kind of take a step back from, hey, are you getting the at-bats every game? Are you getting the innings we need every game?
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of look at which one are you developing in? Because we
Mm-hmm.
may want to focus on that. I would say the majority of guys that try to be a two-way, even at our level, even get, kind of shut down into one.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very, very possible for someone at our level to still do both as long as, again, you're doing both well and
Yeah.
actually performing too.
It's more realistic to get the look, but like you said, you got to still be good at it. We took over a new program, or we were new coaches at a program, and we had a guy, one of the returning players, tell us, "Yeah, I'm a two-way guy," and we looked at his numbers, and it's like, bro, you batted 185 last year and you had a 6 ERA. You better pick one because you ain't gonna last if you do that. So you're exactly right. Like if you're gonna do it, you got to be good both ways. So real quick, coach, someone threw in the chat box, how many JV games did the JV guys get last year? What was that? What did that look like? How many like game opportunities did those guys have?
Yeah. So we ended up getting 13 games in.
Cool.
Was supposed to be around 20.
Mm.
We had a terrible year with rain.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's definitely hard when you have that type of year. Going forward, we're going to schedule a little bit more.
Hmm.
So we're going to schedule about 25, with the hope that we play at least 20,
Cool.
if not
Cool.
more. I will say the JV schedule, at least right now, in our region, tends to be a lot of Mondays, Thursdays, and
Hmm.
Sundays.
Hmm.
So whenever there's rain, it does get hard, because if varsity needs to play,
Yep.
and get one of those 40 games in, that's kind of just the hierarchy.
Hmm.
Some of those games
Hmm.
could get bumped, not even to even just our own doing too. If we're playing another school, we had this happen multiple times where the other school had their conference series bumped back and they
Hmm.
couldn't play on a Sunday,
Hmm.
something like that. So usually it's going to be on the opposite days that a varsity team's playing.
Hmm.
So right now, trying to just schedule more of those throughout the year. And when we say
Cool.
that too, I mean that's February through the end of April.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. Good stuff. Good stuff. Awesome. All right, coach, couple final thoughts here that I'd love to get from you before we let these guys go. But everybody, real quick, I just put a link to a survey in the chat box. Before you guys jump out, if you could click on that link and just let us know. Hopefully tonight's chat has been helpful for you guys listening to. We'd love to hear that, of course, but just overall, kind of let us know how things are coming along. But coach, if you had like a couple of things that you could pass along to these guys, aspiring college baseball players, what kind of message do you have for them as far as like any sort of like motivating thoughts or just kind of to keep after it? Like just give these guys a few thoughts that you have as far as like, hey man, if you're looking to get after it, keep up with this stuff.
Yeah, and I'll say again, as hard as sometimes we talk about how playing college baseball is, there are still a ton of opportunities for
Mm-hmm.
guys if you look hard enough and are open-minded enough
Mm-hmm.
to those opportunities. Now, again, want you to be at a good fit. But if baseball is your priority, there's probably going to be a spot for you somewhere.
Mhm, mhm,
Again, you just have to look for it. And
mhm,
again, it's always hard because college is not a quick decision. You need to make sure that, again,
mhm,
the environment's right, the academics are right, the baseball's right, the financial aid and money is
mhm,
right. There's just a ton of things that go into it. So yes, absolutely. Look as hard as you possibly can. Utilize all of your resources to find what spots are available. But just beware, of all the things that,
mhm,
guys, tend to get caught up on. If you're just looking to play baseball, again, you don't want to end up in the transfer portal.
mhm,
It's just
mhm,
not a great place to be. A lot of guys that are still flooding the portal, have those COVID years left. I believe we're on the final year of that. So hopefully nothing like that ever happens again. Obviously, I know you guys know what that's like, but certainly it still affects us at the college level too.
mhm, mhm,
So again, just beware, because you do want to make sure that this experience of baseball is the absolute best and the most fun you can possibly have.
mhm,
I promise you, and coach, I hope you felt the same way. It's probably still why we do this. It was the absolute most fun 4 years of my
mhm,
life.
mhm,
And it was life changing. I have, friends of mine, from my playing days that I talk to, if not every day, every other day.
mhm,
Um, and there's at least 40 of them. So it's a lot. But I think, that's how worth it that this process is. So you just have to go about it in the right way.
mhm,
So at least in terms of, recruiting, um, like I said, you have to be in the right academic environment, where you're going to thrive in the classroom. And that's where you have to, look at yourself in the mirror and say, all right, where am I going to fit in the best? And that's kind of what I mean by fit. You have to enjoy the campus. You have to be at a place too where you actually enjoy being coached by the coaches that you're going to be with.
mhm,
And that leads to so many other things, like, are you able to communicate with them day in, day out? And it just needs to be a process where you find what really suits you best. So as
mhm,
much as we talk about what we look for, it's okay to be selfish in the right ways about this too.
mhm,
Um, so always, like I said, try and find that best fit. But ask, communicate. That's one skill I didn't even learn right away. I promise, as vocal as I am, even on this, I'm an introvert. I like to go home and say nothing.
mhm,
So, a lot of you guys, I think you can even just ask questions. There's no
mhm,
bad question. There's no stupid question when you're going through this process. And I think if I can, help you guys to not be nervous, we've all been in your shoes.
mhm,
We are normal people. Some of us, may look tired or something like that. It's probably because, we didn't have enough coffee or something like that. But we are right there with you guys, kind of going through the summer ball experience, through, watching some of your high school games. We're going through it with you guys. So we're human too. Approach us. That's kind of
mhm,
the biggest thing that I'll say, at least for the recruiting side. I'm trying to think of, even around the field too. I mentioned this at least a couple times. I mean, the game is still the game.
mhm,
Try and find, where your skill set is going to help a team win. I think that's kind of the biggest transition that our guys even go through, from leaving kind of the high school and showcase world. And when you get to college, it's all about winning. We don't care who's going to do it. We don't care how you're going to do it either. A home run sometimes is just as good as a sack bunt, or a squeeze bunt. So all these facets of the game, don't go away. They actually get enhanced. So make sure whatever program, you settle on, obviously, hopefully it's all, you're coming to Eastern, and we get you to be Eagles. But, at the end of the day, we may not fit you, and that's okay. When I say there's, options for you out there, you may just have to look for what program you're going to fit into best.
mhm, mhm,
And that's why I say, communication helps with that. Getting to know the coaches. One of the best questions I get, on visits and everything like that is, how do you guys play? How does my position work in your system?
mhm,
And you're only going to get to some of those answers early on by just communicating.
mhm,
And it's okay. Text us, email us, whatever it is. Just communicate. Like I said, it's going to get you ultimately a lot further, and at the end of the day, a lot happier too.
mhm.
So if there's anything that I can share, those would probably be the top couple there.
Oh, that was awesome, Coach. I really appreciate that for the guys to hear that because I tell guys too, like, hey, you're talking to college coaches, they're probably just like cool baseball dudes like Coach Clancy, right? Like it's not like they're super intimidating guys. You know, in most cases they're just cool dudes. They're just baseball guys to talk with. So don't have that nervousness. It's always going to be nerve wracking, but you probably don't have to be as nervous as you think you need to be. So good
Yeah.
stuff.
And I'll tell you
Well,
guys too, like if there's someone I like, I'm still nervous talking to them.
yeah.
So it's a two-way street, I promise.
Yeah. I remember those days. It's been 10 years since I was coaching, but I remember those days. Oh man, it's a big time guy. Let's see if we can get an answer from him. Awesome. All right. Well, Coach, I think we can wrap it up from there. I don't see any other questions that have popped in. Man, this has been awesome. I appreciate the time. Thank you guys for joining too. Coach, what would be the best way for these guys to reach you if they have any kind of, interest in maybe trying to connect with you? Just like through the email messaging, like what's usually the best way to make that initial contact?
Yeah, I would say email is the
Okay.
best. Definitely we can share it. My email is going to be jclancy1 at eastern.edu. If I had the chat open, I'd
I
put that in there, but
I will share
um,
that in the follow up email for all the guys.
perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
Otherwise, Twitter too.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you guys have videos posted, by all
Mm-hmm.
means, send me a message and I
Yeah.
can click on your profile and check it out. If it's the email route, I mean, send me your
Mm-hmm.
NCSA profile.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever it is that I can see right away. By all means, reach out and same thing goes for questions too.
Mm-hmm.
For as much recruiting as we do, and as busy as we are, sometimes with that, if you have general questions, if you
Mm-hmm.
are a guy for us right now that's not a 2025, maybe some guy that might be younger, that we don't have our sights set on right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still going to send you our recruiting questionnaire just so you're
Mm-hmm.
in our system and you're on our radar. But ask away.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the NCAA rules, just kind of say that I can't actively reach out to you unless you're finished with your junior year of high school. But if you reach out to me, I can definitely, give you a response.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't tell you I'm actively recruiting you,
Mm-hmm.
but I can help, in any way possible. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something that I really do like to do. Because like I said, I don't want anybody to kind of go through the mistakes that I made,
Mm-hmm.
kind of go through any of the negativity that some other guys go through. So ever I can be a resource, by all means, reach out.
Awesome. Awesome. Great stuff. Great stuff. And I know some people throw it in the chat, that's generous of you, Coach, to offer that. So, yeah, definitely take him up on it. I don't think he's, just saying that either. So definitely reach out. So awesome. Well, guys, I hope this was helpful. That survey is in the chat box there. Scroll back up and click on that. We always appreciate the feedback. But, guys, we'll get you out of here. Coach Clancy, thank you so much. We'll definitely get you back on one of these again soon, okay?
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Andy.
Awesome. Y'all have a great night. We'll talk to y'all soon. Y'all take care.